Nice.
Okay, want to kick it away, Ishan?
Sure. Hi, so this is the FLC++ Summer 22 Internship Panel, where some of the students, former and current students of FLC and of Los Rios are going to share how they got the internship and what they do in the internship. And some of our panelists are going to be Joshua Peterson, Michael Huang, me, and Jonathan Wang. And so the main format is that we're basically each of us is going to talk about how we got our internship and then the interview process and finally what we do during an internship. And then at the very end, when all of us are done presenting, we're going to have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions while we're speaking, feel free to jot it down. And at the end, just feel free to ask us. And as you can see, we're going to go down in this order. And I'm going to go first. So I'm Ishan Mayer, and this summer, I interned at Lawrence Livermore National Lab as an undergraduate computing intern. The general umbrella internship program is called the undergraduate computing intern, but really I mostly was a software engineering intern. And I applied for this internship as a Los Rios student, and this was prior to me transferring to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which I will be attending this fall, which will be exciting. So I got this internship mainly through LinkedIn. I applied through a bunch of applications such as Handshake, LinkedIn. Handshake and LinkedIn were the primary applications I used to apply to my internships. And I primarily chose LinkedIn because LinkedIn has like a lot of companies that you don't see on Handshake post on LinkedIn, and a lot of companies that do post on Handshake also post on LinkedIn, which is really nice. And also, most of the recruiters are on LinkedIn, so that's why I chose LinkedIn. As for the application process on LinkedIn, I was redirected to the Lawrence Livermore application site, and I basically filled out their application and they made me submit a resume. And I usually don't do this for my applications, but I included some resemblance of a cover letter, which was basically me saying that, why I wanted to work there and what excited me about Lawrence Livermore. And I primarily chose to apply to Lawrence Livermore since it was a national lab. And I noticed on LinkedIn that a lot of former students interned at national labs. So I thought that I had a decent chance, or rather national labs tend to approve community college students. So that was my general mindset when applying to Livermore. As for the internship interview process, I had a phone screen, where I was interviewed by members of my current team, which was super convenient since I got to interact with technical people, and they were able to tell me specifically what I'd be doing. As for the questions and the format of my interview, at the beginning, I had a behavioral interview where they asked me to describe about myself, and then they also quizzed me about various topics and skills I mentioned on my resume. And this was primarily, I think, because as a BS checker, and also they also some of the stuff that I had on my resume were stuff they're looking for, and they wanted to confirm that I had those skills. And following that, I had a sort of a technical style interview where like they asked me a bunch of coding questions that it explain the solution to orally. So one of the questions was like a FISBUS type questions to like just to make sure that like I know how to code. And then following that, they like drill down into like harder questions like the LRU cache problem, and then some questions related to asynchronous threading and all that. And that was like mainly to like determine like if I was they like mainly ask us questions to like check off some of the things they're looking for. And yeah. And then what I did during my internship, I was a software engineering intern. So there were two aspects of the internship. One of them was that I had to work on some tickets, which were small tasks that were bugs, features, and fixes to their main application. And that typically is a natural thing for many software applications because like there's like changes and all that. And then I also had my intern project where I had to sync data from the unclassified side to the classified side. And I worked on that with a partner. And also in that project, I also got exposed to multi-threading, which is really neat. One interesting thing that I got out of the internship was the software development process. My team like used the Scrum practice where we had like daily stand-ups where we shared our progress, and then bi-weekly sprint retrospectives where like we talked about like what our team did well and what could be improved on. And overall, I had a good summer, and my team was pretty chill, and it was nice to work on a software development team. And yeah, that was how my internship went. Feel free to like write down your questions and for me or anything like that, and I'll try answering that at the end.
Hi, so if I'm sure many of you knew me from before, whether it be last year or 2 years ago, but yeah, I'm Jonathan Wang, and this past summer, I was a software engineer intern at Microsoft. So just to give a bit of insight into the process, first, around mid to late July and early August is when Microsoft puts up their positions. I actually applied around August, and if you look right now, I actually found they just released their current internship applications for next summer. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out or maybe ask any other questions for me. So I decided I wanted to apply early because a lot of the recruiting actually happens around August, September, maybe October, but that's usually like the peak time. So that's the kind of time I applied for it. Really didn't hear that much back from it. In fact, I didn't hear anything until around mid-September, until I first got a request for an interview. So the first step in the interview, assuming after you get your resume reviewed and all that stuff, you get kind of like a screening interview. Now, there's actually quite a bit of variability in how these go, but they can either be behavioral, they can be technical. Mine turned out to be technical. I had a Microsoft engineer working on Windows. I was asked the question, which was essentially, how do you find a loop in a linked list? It was a bit freeform, so I decided to define the linked list first. He wanted to see I could do that. Then just write like the function for finding that loop in the linked list. I just used like a hash set and iterated through all the elements in it. Then the next stage, I waited about a week. Then I got a request for a final interview. Now, the final interview for me, at least, was comprised of 2 different interviews. With the first one being technical, I forgot what the question was, but it was like a leak code easy, and I solved it. And I went, and after the next interview was pretty much all behavioral. I would just ask some questions about like how I deal with difficult problems, any challenges I've had. And then I got to ask some questions to the interviewer about Microsoft itself. So wasn't too bad. And after that, then I actually received about a week later, then I received the offer. So that's just kind of the process that I had. You can usually expect something similar, such as you send in your resume and then you you'll get a first interview, like a screening interview, then you should get a final interview, and you'll usually get 2, maybe 3 interviews for that final stage. Another thing worth mentioning that I think you all should know is you could apply to multiple positions at Microsoft for the internship. I don't think there's any limits as far as I'm concerned, but definitely keep the candidate profile on their website up to date, because only when I changed it did I actually receive the interview request really quickly. So just letting you know that you can always update anything. You can always update your profile from after you apply, and it might still be seen. So in terms of what I did in the internship, I was a part of Microsoft's cloud team. I was specifically working on their commerce and ecosystems team, where I essentially was working on one of the teams that they handled the billing for Microsoft's Azure cloud usage. So essentially, if you use like a database for, like, maybe you made like 20 GET requests and like 30 PUT requests, or then we'll charge you a certain amount based on that usage of our services. So on this team, it was a relatively small team. We had around 7 people total, and we did have like the weekly stand-ups because I was a software engineer intern. I was basically embedded into the team, but I worked on an independent project. So I did pretty much most of the things that all the other team members did. I interacted with them, did one-on-ones, and then I talked in the stand-ups about what I'm doing, what I need help with, any blockers. So for my project, because I did have to sign an NDA, not going to give too specifics, but basically as part of this process, we moved data down this pipeline. I essentially made an API that checked where there might be any problems related to the data in our database, and whether the data is appropriately gotten from the database that we're getting our data from. So I guess to put it simply, I'm making sure the data flow is consistent. We have data coming to us and we're sending data to someone else. I'm just validating all 3 areas to make sure that the data is good and we don't have any problems, because we get a lot of incidents when customer data gets corrupted, or if there's really any other problems that happen. So I thought, why not make an automated system to check for that with an API? And so I worked a lot with some of the cloud tools. I specifically use like serverless functions, and I use C# for my coding, for like the coding language. And I was actually working on the repos, the ones a lot of my coworkers are working on. So that was pretty cool. And I actually finished about 2 weeks ago. And so if you have any questions about Microsoft or software engineering or some of like the organization stuff, happy to answer any questions about that in like the Q&A. So yeah, that's my Microsoft intern experience.
Hey guys, yeah, so I've interned for Solidigm, and at this moment right now, I am still interning for Solidigm because their internship is really long. And the reason for that is because, so a little history with Solidigm is they used to be the memory group of Intel. I don't know if you guys know Intel 670p, 660p. Well, the NSG group, formerly now known as Solidigm, made those. And I guess Intel doesn't want to keep the memory group anymore, so they sold it off to SK, which is like the second best memory division in South Korea, which was right behind Samsung. So do forgive me, I forgot the process of this interview question. So so how I got this internship was, I like to say it's like probably luck, because I knew from the news that NSG was splitting from Intel, Solidigm. And when they split, of course, they're going to want to hire more people. So I also know a friend from UC Davis who is working there at the moment. I asked him when they're going to do the hiring process, and they told me that they can just send my resume up. So once again, it's really lucky. With the whole interview process that consists was probably one take-home technical problem, 1 behavioral interview, and then 2 technical interviews. They were fairly easy. They just discuss, data structures, system designs, all that. And the behavioral one too is pretty fairly easy, like simple, like, oh, what's your strongest trait to be a leader, leadership skills and all that. So as to what I do in Solidigm is, so I'm a product engineering intern, but that term in itself is like an umbrella term to a lot of what we like to say swim lanes. When we say swim lanes, we're referring to different divisions, right? A product has power, performance, timing, thermal. So I'm part of one of the 3 swim lanes. And yeah, I'm part of PBT, which is power, performance, and timing. And what I do in that internship is I just help around. They try to integrate me more into the team. I make sure that everything's up to date with the product and all of that. But most likely, as we progress through my internship, I'm probably more into automation and development, which is just coding scripts, making the process of testing more automated. Is that all? Is there any other like questions I'm supposed to answer?
You can choose whatever you want to answer.
Yeah, could you show me the first page or the second slide, please? Oh,
I put it in the chat.
oh, awesome, awesome.
Got it.
What do they do in the internship process? Yeah, I think I answer all of them. Any questions is I know they're still hiring, but the process of hiring has gotten a lot more strict due to, you know, an influx of growth, as they like to put it. Other than that, yeah, it's all done.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Josh. I'm an intern at Amazon this past summer. So I graduated from FLC in 2021, and I transferred to UC Davis, majoring in computer science. So that's the past school year I've been at UC Davis. And then as a UC Davis student, I was able to get this, my first ever internship at Amazon. So the process for getting the internship was I applied in around fall, so August, September, dead silence for a few months. It wasn't until January that I got a response. Oh, here, take the online coding challenge. So those are just 2 pretty like leak code easy, maybe medium problems. It wasn't anything hard. And then after that, I submitted that. I got to continue, and there's an online, it's an interesting like online behavioral test. So they put you in like a simulated work environment. They give you a problem, and then they give you responses, and you choose the best response, or you decide like which one's the best, which one's the worst, and that sort of thing. Finally, after that, I got just one interview with some random engineer in Florida who he didn't even work for Amazon. He worked for Woot.com. They're a subsidiary of Amazon. So that was pretty chill. When I asked him like, oh, what's the work environment like? He's like, I don't know, I don't technically work for Amazon, so you have to figure that out. He asked me 3 behavioral questions, and then 1 coding leak code easy problem. I can go into more detail both of those later if anyone would like to know about those questions or the problem. But overall, it's pretty easy. He was super chill, and I'd say I also feel like I kind of got lucky there, but I think that's just kind of how the internship experience is. Depends who you get, who you talk to, and that sort of thing. So once I finally got to Amazon, I'm a part of Amazon Business. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's like Amazon, but it's for businesses, so they can bulk buy products and that sort of thing. I'm specifically a part of the electronic invoicing team. So rather than an employee of that business sitting down and looking at PDFs to pay for their purchases, they can sign up for electronic invoices and have their systems automatically process and pay the invoices. Specifically, my project is a data migration project. So internally, we have some data store we're not going to use anymore. So we need to move the data and we need to move all the processes to another place. And I'd say I'm still doing it. My internship ends in about a month, and it's definitely pretty difficult. When you're an intern at Amazon, they basically treat you like a full-time employee. When you first, we have an onboarding plan, but that just kind of gives us a lot of really simple, like, oh, here's the culture at Amazon, here's how you can talk to HR. But when it comes to doing your tasks, it's just, here's your project, figure it out, right? And kind of like what Ishan said, we have sprint boards. So every 2 weeks we kind of assign points, we assign tasks, talk about what we're doing. Every morning we have a stand-up meeting, 10-15 minutes, say what we're doing that day, what our blockers are, that sort of thing. Let's see. So yeah, I'm a bit stressed right now. My project's like, I feel like it's like at times it's been like derailed. After my first design doc presentation, it seemed like it was going well. And then the senior engineers had a half-hour discussion just to decide, okay, so the place you're going to put the data, that's wrong. We have to figure out something new. I was like, what? This is what you told me to do, right? So that's kind of been going on this whole time. I've been trying to figure that out, but it's a good experience. I'm learning a lot how code is organized in a big company, learning how to talk with other teams. I've had to speak with teams in India, speak with teams in Spain, deal with the different time zones involved, that sort of thing. And let's see, what else is there? I think, so my team, there's about 12 people on my team. We have like 3 other sister teams that we're all under. We all do electronic invoicing. And then on my team, there's one other intern who's a returning intern. His internship's already ended. He's in Florida. That's another weird thing. They had me move up to Seattle, right? But nobody comes into work. So 90% of the time I'm alone in the office. Everybody's working from home. And I kind of feel like, why did I even come up here? But it's a good experience anyways. So yeah, I'd say I'd say applying for Amazon would be a good choice. I think it depends on the team. My team's really chill, they're really helpful, everyone's really nice. And what I like about the interview process is that I think they focus a lot more on your skills and your ability to explain yourself rather than your resume, because personally I didn't think I had a whole lot on my resume, but I was still able to get the internship. So if you think that you might not have a whole lot of stuff, Amazon might still be a really good opportunity for you because they'll give you the interview and you can show yourself off without having a whole list of achievements on your resume. So yeah, that's it for Amazon. Thank you.
Actually, since Alex is here, would you mind talking about your experience, Alex? Because you're doing your data science intern, so it might offer like some different perspectives.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Lee. I'm an incoming transfer student at Stanford University, and I'm currently interning at Intel Corporation as a data scientist intern. Yeah. I usually was kind of hesitant to this panel because I didn't really know how it would turn out, but here I am out of curiosity. So hi, Josh. Hi, everyone. Hope your day's going well. How I got the internship was really quite interesting. So I did the Intel Community College Mentorship Initiative. It's like this 5-week program where they pair you up with like a guy who works at Intel. At first, I didn't really hear much from my Intel mentor at all until I kind of emailed him and asked him, hey, what the heck's going on? And then he met me in person at Intel's campus in Folsom. So I got a tour, which was really nice, and he gave me like a scripting project I did in this really old language called TCL. It's really just to learn about like FPGA and Intel's logic boards and that kind of stuff. So fast forward a couple of months, I heard about from my professor, if you guys are at Folsom, his name is Caleb Fowler. He's the chair of the computer science department there. So he introduced me to Mark Fiore, one of the business unit leads at Intel. So he's the guy I'm currently interning with right now. He is part of Intel's business division. So there's a lot of data within that division because I process about 2.8 million lines of all of Intel's international sales, allocations, and data. And we work with about 85 different customers worldwide in different regions. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of calling, a lot of data. So my job, what I do at Intel is I work on a team, and like Josh, they really just throw you in there like you're a full-time employee. And it's very stressful. So at first I had to look at my project. It was like very daunting. Like the data was chaotic. I had to spend time doing EDA, which is exploratory data analysis. So I learned about how all my variables interacted. I ended up creating an automated process to streamline the data flow into my model. I created a model to time series forecast data so Intel could predict like customer demand from different customers. And that is really hard to do. So first things first, how I did it was I created a hash map to streamline all of Excel using pandas straight into my code. And then I try to automate it as best as I can, but that part is really difficult. I ended up using stuff like APIs and stuff. When I got to my model, it was a lot of dirty work and testing. Like Josh, my project got ripped to shreds by Intel senior engineers. I was grilled a lot. Eventually, I made some headway, and that was really impressive. I reached about 98% accuracy for my model after a lot of long nights. So they kind of gave me a break there, but they still kind of ripped it to shreds at another design meeting. So it was a lot of constant flow work, improvement, and just a lot of constant stress. I'm under a lot of stress this week, which is why I kind of was like backing off from this because I didn't really know how much I could offer. Like adapting to the culture at a big corporate company is going to change you mentally. Like during the interview process, I had about 3 phone screen interviews, which are mostly behavior questions, and one really hard technical interview question. Like I was not expecting how hard it was. Like I definitely thought I failed that interview, but they ended up giving me a second chance anyway, and I got a second technical interview. The first question was a lead code hard question. They asked me essentially how to code a maze, how to traverse that maze in the best time and space complexity available. That was super hard to do. The second question was how to like, it was a lead code easy question. So that also caught me off guard. I guess the reason why I got the second interview was how I handled it. Intel likes to follow something called STAR, which is a process where you identify an issue, explain how you would tackle it, and give an immediate response on how to tackle it. They like to see questions answered that way. And I guess after doing a lot of prepping, I would really recommend prep. It's really crucial for your interview. That really helped me get through the interview process. But at the end of the interview process, I end my internship in about September. So it's going to be like a lot more design reviews and a lot more project improvement. At the end, I'm just like really hoping I can make it out alive at this point because I'm just like so stressed out. But I would say the experience overall has been really nice. I mean, the Folsom campus is a lot prettier now that they modernized it. There's a lot of good food and fun people aside from like the Solidime department, as you heard from Michael, who they live inside us as our tenant. It's kind of funny. But what's nice about them is their building has the only massage chair in the entire Folsom campus. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. It's really nice to see some familiar faces again and really get to get a sense of how you guys have been and stuff. So yeah, thanks.
So
Yeah, go ahead, Ishan.
with Alex done, we're available to take some questions. So let's read the chat.
So in case this wasn't answered already, to first question, Shreya, I did it while at FLC, and I believe Ishan said he did, and Alex and Michael, I believe, were as well. But you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I know Josh was at Davis.
So I see Shreya just put a question in. Do you guys feel like the classes you took for your undergraduate degree at FLC prepare you for your internships? I'll start with that one. I'll say absolutely not. There were no skills that I learned. I mean, maybe the beginner classes, like what is programming? I use those skills, of course, right? You need to do a little bit of programming, but like my team's entire code base is if-else statements and function calls. There's no complexity to it at all. The most challenging part is just figuring out what file calls another file and trying to piece all these piece everything together to figure out what the heck is it actually doing and what do I need to do to either change it or replicate it. So when I say they didn't prepare me, it's not like they were useless. I learned a lot from them, but the skills weren't really needed. Like I didn't need any complex data structures or any algorithms. I just needed to be able to think about how I should structure my code.
As for my internship, for my interview, at the very least, my CSP 430 class was very helpful. And some of like the data structures covered in that class, specifically hash maps, appeared a lot in my interview, which was like really helpful. And then as for my day-to-day internship, I wouldn't say the classes directly impacted like the skills taught in the classes didn't really help me, but like they're pretty foundational for some of the stuff that I do. And sort of object-oriented program, like I pretty much did web development, and I think that's what everyone else did aside from Alex because he's a data science intern. But I think that CSP 400, like the very core ideas of CSP 400, are useful towards software development. And for my intern project, which involved data syncing, I use a lot of hash maps. Which is part of CSP 430. And since my program was like a command line interface program, similar to like what you guys did, what's taught in like classes, I think that's useful, but I wouldn't say there was like a direct, like going in with only the skills taught in classes wouldn't really help me. And I had to like prepare. I had to take some online tutorial courses to like prepare me for my internship. So yeah.
So I'd like to kind of combine what both Josh and Ishan said, but also add another element to it. First of all, I was essentially a backend engineer. So I was just working with like, the infrastructure of the code. So your classes, especially CISP 400 object-oriented programming and CISP 430 data structures, will help you the most in interviews. You'll get stuff like what are the core tenets of object-oriented programming and be able to do data structures, complexity analysis in the interview. So I would say your classes would help you with the interview, but you can honestly just leak code that, to be honest, truthfully. In terms of my like the actual internship itself, again, like Josh said, mostly if-else statements. You're really just being able to interact with their systems / repos to do stuff. But at least with my team, because we had like this core library built for us that had a bunch of built-in stuff we could use. I had to go through that code in order to actually, I like to go through it to understand what I'm using. You may or may not need to do this on like your other internships, but they did use some of the stuff like hash sets, hash maps, dictionaries, some queues, but no stacks or anything like that. So it's helpful to know some of the data structure stuff, but not 100% necessary in terms of the actual job. I would say though, definitely know your object-oriented programming, know what it is and know when to use it and how to use it. Like know stuff like encapsulation and make sure things all modular. That part I would say is definitely helpful, being able to understand where and when to use object-oriented programming. But other than that, the classes aren't really too helpful for the job itself.
Yeah, to go off of that, but yeah, for me, of course, coming to the internship, you got to know how to code to begin with. So I guess you can count like the previous like CSP 300 all the way to 400 is pretty important as a fundamental to all internships around the code. But I think what I found really most important in my internship as automation development in Solidigm was data structures and discrete math. I think those definitely came into play during my interview process and what I'm doing right now.
So what do you do with discrete math? Like that's pretty different.
Oh, we just, was it graph theory? It was during the interview process where they were just giving me problems. I think discrete math and data structure itself really shined during the interview process because they really want you to know your fundamentals. There was, I didn't really get given a lead code problem to begin with. The interview process, once again, is just them wanting you to know your fundamentals in your college courses.
So let's see. I see.
Yeah,
Isha
Ishan asked a
mentioned-
question specific to you.
Yeah, so I actually didn't get my internship from a career fair. In fall, I got an email. I don't know who the email was from. It's either from like my college or some online career provider, but I got an email advertising Amazon. So I was like, okay, I'll apply through Amazon student portal. And that's how I got that. I did attend a career fair at UC Davis, and that netted me an interview. So our career fairs there, because of COVID, they're online. So you can set up either 10-minute one-on-one appointments or attend half-hour groups where the representative just talks about the business. So for one time, I was the only person who showed up to a group presentation. So I basically just got a one-on-one for a whole half hour with a guy, and that got me an interview the next day, which was pretty cool. I didn't get an offer for that, but I think for career fair, just be friendly, be talkative. Like if you end up being the only person who shows up, like take advantage of that. Just have a friendly conversation. A lot of these recruiters, they know your students. They know that you can't really do anything that their engineers are doing, but they're looking for, okay, is this someone who wants to learn? Is this someone who's friendly, someone that I or my teammates would want to work with? So that's why you just want to just be yourself and be someone that they like pretty much.
So to answer the next question, Vishwak's question, what kind of projects did you do that may have helped you get your internship? For me, I worked on, let's see, what did I put on that resume? I worked on like a website app that it was basically trying to like predict like how you should set like your HVAC machine to like the appropriate temperature while also conserving energy. I think that one may have helped. I didn't really emphasize my projects too much. It was more so like the process I went through because it was a team project. I used that experience more in the context of how well did I work within a team, because I didn't really have too many projects there. So I think if you don't have as much like work experience, having projects are helpful, but I can't say necessarily for sure that made it really helpful within my hiring process. Anyone else want to like speak on any project they did that might have really made a difference?
I didn't really have a project, but like it was sort of a prior internship with the Design Hub, which is like a program at American River College for Los Rios students that provided me like with some prior work experience that like they sort of were looking for, that being some full stack web development, and like having that experience sort of helped. And I noticed that one prior intern that worked on a similar, one prior intern from Los Rios that was a former Design Hub student also got into Livermore, and they had a very similar project to me. So I think my Design Hub project was the main factor or me getting my internship?
For my internship projects, I believe helped little to none at all. So I did some database, some front ends, some back ends. I made a Discord bot that I can kick users infinitely, disconnect them. I made a password generator that can encrypt itself and decrypt itself. I also made a fake Instagram just because I want to try out some database. I also made a website for my resume. and the funny thing is, Solidigm interviewers, they all looked at my resume, they clicked on my website and clicked out of it. They're like, oh, okay, you did some projects. So yeah, I guess for me personally, projects didn't really help me at all to get into Solidigm. They really don't care if you did any projects or not at all. You just gotta know your fundamentals once again.
Yeah, I can talk about my resume. So like I said, I feel like my resume didn't have a whole lot on it. Two projects that I've worked on. One was Java creating a program that converts an image to ASCII art. So it just takes the pixel and then turns it into a character based on how dark the pixel is. And then and then I made a bot to scrape Best Buy's website and ping me when graphics cards are in stock. Because if you like looking at computer parts, you know that graphics cards have been out of stock and very expensive for a while. And then I did do one thing that I actually used during the interview. So while I was at FLC++, we did some cybersecurity competitions. And during one of the quarters there, I led our participation in that competition. Led as in I basically made announcements telling people, hey, make sure you join at this time. And then I presented some small tutorials because I was experienced with the type of questions. And I was able to use that during the interview because I was asked the question, describe a time as a leader when you took action to solve a problem. During our participation, some of our club members had signed up under a different school, not at FLC. And because of that, our team wouldn't be put on the school leaderboards. So to solve that, I just said, hey, contact this support, ask them to change your school. So it's a pretty simple thing. It's not a whole lot really happened, but it's an example of something you've done that has had an impact, right? So I definitely recommend participate in stuff because you never know when something small, like I didn't think that was cool or anything special, right? I just said, hey, contact support. But you never know when something might come up where you can use that as example of you being a leader, for example. Yeah, the GPU thing is cool. I never got one. I'd get pinged. I'd look at the website and then half a second later, they're out of stock again because other people make bots that buy them automatically. Mine just tells me that they're there. But yeah, it was fun. I learned some cool stuff.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay, I think we could I could ask like one just for everyone. So how do I phrase this? What single thing, if you had to name one, like helped you get the internship if possible? Like if you could name just one thing, what would you say helped you most?
I can say this one. Networking. The most important thing is, to me personally, is not really like you being proficient in coding in a sense outside of the fundamentals. It's really networking. Like because you got to know people who refer you to the company, and you will have a higher percentage chance of getting into said company, compared to people who can, I don't know, code better than you. So yeah, my takeaway is networking is really important.
I would second that. So I did really well in all of my CS classes, and I guess like the professors really liked me. So in like the summer before I got my internship, I was like just not sure what to do. So I talked like with them during office hours, and then they gave me a call back, and then they connected the guy who I interned with at Intel on the call. So I feel like doing well in my classes really helped me.
So for me, I would say, just to be a bit general, preparation, knowing like preparing with like some of the leak code, depending on the position and the company you're applying to, you usually have to solve like leak code problems or whatnot. Just knowing how to prepare for that, like doing some of the problems, and also just documenting your experiences, because a lot of the behavioral questions, you're gonna have to pull from some of the things that you've done in the past and explain like the impact or leadership you might have made. And also just knowing what the company does. You may or may not get asked this question. Some companies do, some companies don't. Just understand what the company's doing and why you're interested. Just being prepared and sounding like you know how you're, like what you're doing and how well you know yourself, I think would definitely help, rather than just maybe like fumbling around, not really knowing or being too scared. So having that sense of preparation, I think, really helped me the most. It's kind of hard to put like anything, name like one specific experience or one thing, because it's kind of hard to do that. And I think preparation helped me throughout the process.
As for me, I'd say my designer internship at Los Rios really helped me. And I'd say that internship's really for everyone at Los Rios. Like it's really easy to get. At least it's meant for everyone at Los Rios. So I'd suggest applying. But I'd say like prior experience helped me. And yeah.
I would say be friendly and show interest. Like I mentioned before, it's really rare that your technical skills are going to put you above your fellow students. You're all doing the same thing. So you need to show the recruiter that you want to be there. So for example, I had the one-on-one with an engineer, and just through talking with him, he set me up with an interview. At the end of my interview with Amazon, I showed interest about my interviewer's career. I asked him a lot of questions about what he's doing and what the work environment is like and that sort of thing. And I think that really shows that you're someone who they would like to work with, someone who'd be good for the company culture, and someone who'd be willing to learn, right? Because there's no way you have all the skills necessary. You're going to have to learn a lot while you're there. And they need to see that you're someone who's willing to learn and someone who's actually looking forward to working for them.
I think I agree with that, because like I'm just remembering from my interview that like I asked them a bunch of questions. Some of them being like, what's the tools you used, why you chose those tools, and then in I wrote like a follow-up email saying what I learned from the interview, because like one of the tools they used sounded pretty cool, and I sort of talked about that in like a follow-up email, and I think that sort of also helped me as well, because I showed interest in like what they're doing and all that, and the software development process.
Yeah, I don't know how much they care about follow-up emails for like the interview, but I know like in the job, like every big meeting we have, there's always a note taker and always somebody who sends a follow-up message after that meeting. So yeah, follow-up messages are super helpful.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say the main reason my follow-up email helped, because like my team interviewed me. Like I wasn't interviewed by like a separate person. So I'd say that's why it helped. But yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say in regards to that, it kind of depends. I think always try to do it. Like, but if you won't know if it may or may not make a difference. And I'm sometimes worried about, what if I'm right on the edge? I like to do everything I can to do that. So any other questions or comments anyone wants to say before we close out?
Yeah, I just have one last thing. It's about like
Sure.
getting different stuff. So like before I applied and got accepted, like many of you guys, I'm pretty sure you've had like rejection letters before, right?
Yeah.
So like yeah. So don't take it personally. Like at first I was like, oh no, I'm a horrible coder. Everything I know is a lie. Everything is going wrong, right? Don't take it like that. Take it as an opportunity to improve. And honestly, instead of just grinding out like 1,000 code questions after the rejection letter, I just take a breather, understand like ultimately at the end of the day, it may be partly down to luck or how you handle an interview, how to handle it yourself. I really take it in a positive light, but ultimately like I felt like a lot of it comes down to just like connections and like getting that referral, because like a lot of the times these they're called robo recruiters. They go through your resume and they look for certain things. So if your resume just doesn't have all those things that some AI is programmed to do like shamefully, then you may not get it, but you may have a much better experience with a human being. Like you heard from Josh, he had some guy who worked for a subsidiary of Amazon called Whoop.com, right? And it was a lot better with a human being. And for me, the same case was true. So I really recommend you to be patient, but also recommend you to like really do well in your classes, because I feel like the people with the most connections are going to be faculty, because they've been in industry for a long time before they started teaching, right? They're going to be your best advocate if you ever go in the field. That's all for me.
Yeah, to add on to that, you can also talk with fellow, colleagues who had an internship or was currently in an internship, because I know that my friend once again referred my resume to the hiring manager before the hiring process even started, because I know that guy. So I asked him if he could possibly do it, and yeah, he said yeah. So yeah, faculties, people who works in the industry, are really good networking people.
I wanted to add one small thing. Both Alex and I, we talked about how the internship's pretty difficult and we're kind of stressed, right? Trying to complete our projects. And I don't want to, I want to make sure, like, I don't want to scare anyone, right? Like, of course it's going to be difficult. Everything you're doing is going to be new. You're going to be learning, but you're an intern, right? That's your goal. Your goal isn't to provide something for the company. Your goal is to learn. Your goal is to grow. And your colleagues, your managers, they know that. So the goal is focus on yourself, focus on learning and getting better and do your best. And don't, maybe this is a suggestion that I need to take to heart too, but like don't get too stressed about your work. Focus on doing your best and learning, not trying to be some star employee, because that's not what you are. You're an intern. You're there to come out of the internship with knowledge for yourself, not just to better the company.
I agree with that. Yeah. Once again, right, you're an intern. You're not there to provide a product. I think one big thing in the internship is to ask a lot of questions. If you don't know something, maybe try to figure out yourself. But if you cannot figure out yourself, ask people higher up.
Yeah, just a comment for me. This is more so, yeah, when you're on your team, I think communication's definitely key. Just being able to just talk with your manager, your mentor, if you have one. And if possible, pretty much all the other team members, a lot of them will know, kind of like what Joshua and Alex said. A lot of them just know you're here to learn, and they'll always be there to, most of the time at least, will be there to help you. So definitely try to get yourself comfortable with the team and be able to just talk with them when there's a problem.
I completely agree. Like asking for help should be normalized. Like no one is going to expect you to come in and be like, Mr. Expert or this is expert, right? So yeah, definitely asking for help, really reaching out. I set up about like 25 one-on-ones with just people on my team, just asking a lot of questions. So it's really about you. Don't take it so hard. Just I think this is also some advice I need to take myself. But like don't take it so hard. Just learn your best. It's best.
Okay, awesome. So yes, this session was pretty much hosted to just kind of give back to like the FLC/FLC++ community, just to kind of show like where we're at and what we've been doing over the summer, and hopefully ACM and FLC++ can have a great year, and hope everyone's doing well. I know some people are still in summer, some people still interning, but yeah, really great seeing everyone again right before school starts.
On the topic of networking, maybe we could put our LinkedIn profiles in the chat. Could all connect there. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, it's basically social media for work. I think it's kind of dumb, but it's important to make connections, right? Connect with your coworkers, connect with fellow students, and it can help you get future opportunities in the future. So I think it's still a good idea to make the account, connect with people, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, great point. So yeah, you can just connect with any of us if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now. I don't know how to get the link, how to do it later.
Understandable. So yeah, anything else we want to say before we completely close off?
It was nice meeting some of you guys. Hope you guys
Yeah.
have a good summer.
You too.
Yeah, maybe I'll see you on campus, Alex.
Yeah, for sure, Michael.
Thank you guys for hosting this. I learned a lot, definitely.
Yeah, no problem. All right, well, I'm gonna drop out now. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
All right, thanks everyone. Glad I could provide back for FLC for a bit. All right, I'll drop off.
Have a good year,
Bye.
everyone.
All right,
Thanks,
see ya.
everybody. Thanks, John and
See ya.
Michelle. Talk to you guys soon.